And I think it's like cuts off at 30. I'm
Okay.
not sure if it goes, for 32 minutes.
Right.
I'm not sure what the electronic, automatic stuff.
The television station does. I don't know, yeah.
So.
I know Greg is.
But that's why I like,
Are you
YouTube.
still seeing the preview?
Well, we're seeing the Jewish View,
That's what we, okay, just didn't want it to go to black.
and you want to close the door?
Yep.
No, the door to the.
No, yeah.
No, okay.
Oh. We are live.
It's all fun.
Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service, jbiztechvalley.com, and as you can see now, columnist for the Jewish Press.
Right, I have a column in there called Albany Beat where I talk about how government relates to the Jewish community or doesn't, as the case may be. And speaking about government, we have with us this very special guest, Evelyn Neale. She's the director of the Colonie Library, or the William K. Sanford Colonie Library.
Town of Colonie Library.
Town of Colonie Library,
Right.
because it's under the town auspices.
Yes.
So anyway, welcome to the Jewish View. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
We've had other library directors on the show from Guilderland, Delmar, Albany, so
Yes.
now
Well, the
Much.
Jewish people, Jewish View, are the people of the book, so
Right.
therefore it only
That's
fits
one
to
of
be
my
in the...
favorite books, too.
So tell us what the Colonie Library offers and what your mission is, and
Sure. Well, we are, like you said, a department of the town of Colonie. So we are directly, I actually am a department head in the town of Colonie. So Paula Mahan is my supervisor, both in work and in the town. What that means is that our funding comes through the town. And so the services that we provide are traditional library services. We do a lot of tech training. We do, libraries are changing. And, a lot of people ask that question, but what about, ebooks? What about computers? Isn't that going to make libraries obsolete? And in fact, I feel that they've made libraries more relevant. We have a tremendous tech offering where we do different Windows programs like Excel. We do advanced Excel, we do Access, we do Word. We do a lot of employment assistance. We actually just recently got our third workforce development grant where we work with the ESL community.
And English as a second language.
Yep. And in fact, in Colonie, English as a second language is very diverse. A lot of people think of ESL as primarily Spanish, but because of a lot of the technical companies in our area, we have a lot of Chinese and Asian
Right.
languages. Yep.
So
Yep.
that's really important that you're
Yep.
expanding like that, and you're very open to
Absolutely.
everyone. And if you have a special request, I'm sure you try to manage
Always.
rectifying that.
If
and-
we can't provide that service
Provide that,
ourselves,
yeah.
then we find some way to provide that service or get that person connected with that service.
Very good.
Yeah.
So how do you like this new job? Relatively new, because you're on about
Yep.
6 months now.
Yep,
so.
it's just 6 months, actually, the 28th
Yeah.
of December. It's a great opportunity. There's a lot of really great challenges in Colonie, and I'm really looking forward to some of the opportunities.
What is just basically, there's one library in Colonie, and what's the population?
Right, we serve 82,000, and we have one library currently at the top of Wolf Road off of Albany Shaker Road,
Near the Times Union
near the
building.
Times Union
No,
building.
but on the other hand, what's the ratio? Because Mark, how many people in Albany and how many libraries?
Right, Albany has about 98,000,
Just about the
95,000
same.
population. Colonie has 82,000.
Right.
And now, but we have like eight
Eight
libraries
libraries.
in the
Compared
city
to
of
one.
Albany.
Yep.
So if you were to put in additional libraries in your wish list,
Yes,
You
that
would-
is on my wish list.
you would have one sort of towards the Cohoes border, Colonie-Cohoes border.
Yep. Actually, I had a great meeting with the mayor of the village of Colonie, which is in the south area of Colonie. It's
Right.
really between Wolf Road and 155. And they have a wonderful complex there with a rec center. And I talked to the person who's in charge of the senior services there and the people who are in charge of the rec center and the people who are in charge of family outreach. and they would love to see satellite services that way. You know, there's such a barrier, even though, you know, it's not a large distance. Wolf Road and Central Ave are so busy, and it's hard to get to our current location. So I would love to see something that way, and I'd love to see something in Latham. You know, kind of, we serve from exit 2 to exit 7, and we currently have one library at exit 4. So we really need to serve exit 2, and we need to serve exit 7.
And that's of the Northway, right?
Of the Northway, correct.
And we also, you know, when you talk about the satellite office, it's less expensive to do a satellite office than to build a whole new structure.
Correct.
Now, I know that libraries, public libraries used to be in the towns, in schools rather, but now because of security in schools, you really don't.
It's really challenging, yeah.
You don't do that anymore.
No, because we really, our hours don't coincide, and the school staff doesn't, you know, lend itself to staying as long as we would want to be open. And while the school is open, there's just a lot of security issues. You have to make sure that you have separate entrances and that kind of stuff.
What about satellite? What would it mean? That in an office building? I mean, that's what you're talking about?
You're
Something
asking
like
me?
that. Well, you know, I think what we would start with is just temporary services. So there's a large senior services, it's not a facility, but
Senior service
program.
center.
It's a senior service program that goes on in the village hall in the village of Colonie. And so what we would do to start is maybe have a staff member there once a week, you know, for a certain amount of hours to be able to give out library cards or to deliver reserves or to run a book discussion or to do tech training. So really it's going to be determined on what that community wants. You know, the same with the rec center. So the village hall is here and the rec center is here. So if we had access to the rec center after hours, we could do family programming and again, have a staff member there for a certain amount of hours, like one day a week, and build that usage and see what the demand is.
You wouldn't need a multi-million-dollar building.
But
That's what I'm saying.
exactly.
No one's duplicating,
Right.
you know, a multi-million-dollar building. It's obviously very financially
You know,
accessible,
yeah.
yeah.
What's the budget for the town library?
It's about $2.5 million.
$2.5 million.
Yeah.
And so, so there's people don't realize this, but there's a special tax, library tax.
Well, it's a little bit different. Because we're a municipal library, we are
Yeah.
actually part of the town taxes.
Okay.
So we are a line item on the town budget, as opposed to, let's say, the Albany Public Library is a school district library. So they're on the school district tax, you know, the school district is their tax levying agent. So they're a completely separate tax.
But you still have to run to be on the library board, right?
Our library board is appointed by the supervisor as opposed to elected. So
Okay.
therein lies the difference. We're a municipal library, where Bethlehem and Albany are both, and I think Guilderland too, they were all school district libraries.
Right, okay.
Where it was before, we were a special district library. And Albany Public, Guilderland, Bethlehem, and East Greenbush, they all have their own vote. Our vote is part of the town budget vote.
So do you have to lobby for, if you want an increase in funding, and you have to go through and get your,
We have to go to the
make your
town
appeal?
board, make our appeal, right? You know, I think Scott, one of the other directors used the, you know, hat in hand kind of say, you know, so, you know, in terms of building new libraries or providing new services to the town of Colonie, we need to get community input so that we can go to the town board and advocate for that, for those new services, and say, you know, this is what we've heard from the community, and this is what we'd like to do, and this is how much it's going to cost. You know, can we increase our budget by, you know, $250,000 or $500,000? And I mean, Albany is doing it. They have less than $7 million budget, and they have 8 branches. So could we do that? Absolutely. I think we could, you know, 3 branches for $3 million. I think we could do that.
And then, you know, the tax levy would be much less, but plus, when the town goes out to, when you build a building, you don't pay for it
Right
totally.
away, no,
You
it's
bond it out
bonded.
over 30 years.
Correct.
And that's also less costly when you do it that way.
Absolutely.
So it's just a matter of staff and
Yep.
you know,
And
the
we have a-
staffing challenge.
Yes, and I think that's where the additions would be right now, and it's more hours than personnel. You know, we have a decent sized staff. We have 47 on our staff in the building we're in, and I think that there's a lot of support on the staff to get out into the community.
Are you open 7 days?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. We are.
What are your Sunday hours?
They are 1 to 5.
1 to 5. That's
Yep.
what Albany just opened up Sunday
Sundays.
hours in the Bach branch.
Yep.
And that's also going to be 1 to 5. So,
Yes,
Yeah.
it's great, and I know in both Colonie and when I was in East Greenbush, people would be lined up at the door, ready to. It's a good time, because you don't conflict.
It's after church.
Right, I was going to say you don't conflict with any kind of religious, so it's good. We close.
One of the things that on the plus side though is just that, what do they call it, the upper.
Upper Hudson Library System.
Yeah, so I use all the time is just I look up online a book, and I'll tell you, I live in Bethlehem Library District. Most of the time, it's not the book I'm looking for.
Sure.
But all right, type it in, and in 2 days I get it.
Yeah.
So really, every library is bigger than it really is. It's not like, okay, this is the books, here they are.
Oh, absolutely. We have access to 29. It's a 29 library system, and we count Albany Public as one.
Oh.
So it's one library, but they have multiple branches and multiple collections, and that's really how we're able to do as much as we can. Is through resource sharing. We have daily delivery, so we have daily pickup and daily delivery. So like you said, it takes 2 days to get what you need. And if it's not in our system, most of us have interlibrary loan, where we will go globally to get what you want.
I know, it's interesting. One person said, Rabbi, I picked up a good Jewish book. I said, oh, you bought it? He said, no, I didn't buy it. It's I got it from the library.
Absolutely.
They have it was very, very Jewishly minded. So I kind of knew that the Jewish Judaic section, I know at least in Bethlehem, is very, very small. And, how did you get it? He says, well, I just asked for it. They got it from Brooklyn.
Yeah,
Oh.
So,
exactly,
that's-
We could get specialized collections. We can get it from Israel if we needed to. If it was not accessible, we have what's called WorldCat or resource sharing through a company called OCLC. And so we find the book and we try and do it for free. Some of the other organizations, they'll charge a fee depending on how far they have to mail it. So, but we try and make sure that it's a free service and get you what you
Yeah,
can.
that's really incredible.
Yeah.
I just always say, like Mark says, we've had many head librarians on the television show, and really people just do not know. I don't know if you'd ever take a poll, the services that a library can.
Yeah.
I don't know, again, I know more Bethlehem, I was never in the Colonie, but 3D printing.
Yeah.
And like I say, you can get any book that you can even dream of. You can just go to the library and say, I'd like to get that book. I have to pay.
Movies, DVDs.
Oh, absolutely.
I
Yep.
mean, that's where, instead of going to the movies, I go to the library,
Yep.
and I hope I can return it in 2 days.
Yeah.
So let's see.
We allow
the tour
7 days.
pages
7.
also that you can go, people go, I went to this museum, that museum.
Yep.
They cost a lot of money
Yep.
nowadays
Yeah.
to go in, and you can get a free pass from the library.
Yeah.
I just think that people just don't have any idea.
Are you-
Most people
Are you
don't
learning
understand.
from what the other libraries are offering, like Gilderlin is offering?
Always.
the
We're
museum
always
passes?
sharing. Yep. All of us, I think, do some level of museum passes. I want to see Colonie's museum passes increase. In East Greenbush, where I was, we had 12 or 15, and we would add one every year, kind of see what was going well, and we might take one out and we might put one in. But anywhere from, the Shaker Village in Hancock to the Racing Museum up in Saratoga to the Eric Carle Museum out in the Berkshires. So there's so much in this area. There's so much enrichment, art enrichment in this area. And we want to make sure that people have access. And it's expensive for families. You have a family of 4 who go to the Clark Museum. If you can get, the Clark is very generous. We get a free pass from the Clark. But it used to be 4 people, it's now 2 people because they increased their entrance fee. But even 2 people, if you have a family of 4,
price.
half the price. So you're really, you're supporting families.
Very well.
I always say that everybody walks through the door with a different agenda. Whether you need employment assistance, whether you need, to access your museums, whether you want videos or you want to
I
download.
mean, like you say, language, isn't there free tutorials?
Yep. We actually have something called Transparent Language. It's a database that's accessible to Colonie residents, and you sign up for an account, and you take a basic test to see where you're at for a particular language, whatever language you want to learn. And there's something like 29 languages available, or more than that. And it customizes a learning tool for you, so you can
To learn a foreign language?
To learn a foreign
Oh,
language.
I didn't even know that. I
Yeah,
didn't know
and
that.
I'm not sure what Albany has, but in East Greenbush, there was a program similar. The system used to share a program called Mango Languages. And when they decided to put the money towards something else, a lot of the larger libraries found a program that would supplement or, do the same thing. So if you want to learn a language, you could go to your library.
Oh, so there's another resource that the library has that I don't know. We have
Yeah.
so many people on from the library, and you learn something.
Can you learn Hebrew?
Yes,
There you go.
yeah,
There you go.
yes
have
you
a
can.
class have a class at the
And if I'm
Colonie?
not mistaken, Yiddish too.
Yiddish.
Really?
Yes.
That's coming back as a language.
Yes.
I'm told. Yeah.
Yes, well, because it's,
Yeah.
so it's a rich language.
So, what surprised you when you first got hired and you walked into the Colonie
Colonie.
Library?
And I don't think this is going to surprise my staff or my board or my town board. The building, the condition of the building was the most surprising to me. The building is going to be 40, and it needs some TLC. It's definitely showing its age. It was built in 1976, and the electricity infrastructure and the data infrastructure certainly was not thought of
Sure.
back then.
We couldn't.
Right. You could not even imagine
Imagine.
where we are now. So we're really we're working with National Grid on maybe saving some money through LED lights so that we can reduce the electric draw that the lights are making, so that we can put those into the computers that are needed. It needs a real it's nice to have a new eye. We need new carpet. We need definitely to reorganize some sections. The
What
building.
about just leveling it and just building a new building?
I'm not allowed to say that, Mark.
Well, again,
That would be
I'm in Bethlehem, and they
Right.
had, and I don't remember the numbers, but it was like a bond for $10 million for that. It wasn't even to knock it down, it was just to add
Just
on.
to-
And people, like 70% said no.
It was Guilderland. That was in
And then they did
Guilderland.
$1 million or two, and they, all right, $1 million
Right.
or two, we'll renovate it, or something. But when you say knock it down and build a whole new building.
I wanted to get a reaction out of it.
Yeah, I say,
Well, she
I
probably
won't
would
say
want it. She said, wow, great, build me a
Build
building,
me
you
a
know?
building. Well, you start adding up the costs, and you say to yourself, okay, what's most cost effective? And where we're located, we are prime real estate. So
You are, yeah.
Yeah, we are.
Well, I see what's going up across the street from
Yep.
the library.
Yep, Pioneer Bank's headquarters is going up across the street
And then there was a plan that maybe Costco might be developing
behind
the TU.
TU.
Right.
And they're still pushing for that. And
Yeah.
it's not Costco or it was Cabela's too.
Yeah.
There's no talk about who it is, but there's still talk about doing
Developing
that.
it, yeah.
Yep. And the land right next to Albany Airport, there was a huge farmland,
Yeah, Engels Farm.
was just sold. It was
Yeah.
just announced
Well,
today.
they just dug up ancient bones from
Yeah.
like 3,000 years ago when the
So then,
dinosaurs
yeah, the
roamed Wolf Road.
DEC is going to stop that for a while. That any building on that property is going to be hard to do.
When they built the Bach Library, they used geothermal
Yeah,
energy
heating, yep.
from the earth to heat the place.
Yep, that's
so,
what common.
those are reasons why you maybe build new.
Yes.
Because you'd get a big chunk of money, let's say, from that land.
Right.
You got other land that could probably find and
Yep.
maybe more centrally located.
Right.
And things like that, so you can have a whole big discussion about that.
And there's a big push right now in terms of green library buildings.
Yeah, that's right.
And sustainability in communities. They're really moving away from 33,000 square feet buildings because collections, books are our brand and books are our foundation. But like you said, Rabbi, we can get those books in we share and we can get them from anywhere. So having the large collections is not as important as it was once before. We have to have access. It's access to space, access to training,
So let me ask you about, do you still use the Dewey Decimal System?
Of course we do.
You do? It
Yes.
hasn't gone away?
No, and in fact, I think Scott would support me in this. In some of the branches where we went Dewey free in Albany Public, they're going back to Dewey.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's a classification system that's based on subjects that just makes it so much easier for us to find. So if we're doing that interlibrary loan, every day we run a list of books that are requested throughout the system and that we need to pull out from our library. To be able to find something in a timely manner is really important. When you have a collection of over 200,000 items, you need some kind of classification to do that easily.
So, what's old is new again, I guess.
Yes. That innovation didn't work out.
So you have your MLS,
I do. Yep. I went to
Masters in
Queens
Library
College.
Science?
Yep.
In Queens College?
Yep.
Okay. So is that like known for being a library sciences school?
It is, actually. Queens is a fairly large program. There's 2 programs down on the island. It's Hofstra and Queens College. And when I went to library school, way back when, Hofstra had actually lost its accreditation, and so they were going through the process of being reaccredited. And so I went to Queens.
Well, being from Brooklyn,
Yes.
Queens is not Long Island.
No, right. And since I'm a,
I know it could be.
Yep.
It's connected, but it's
Kind of,
not Long
sort of, but not really. And I'm a state school. I went to Stony Brook for my undergrad. I went to Queens
okay.
for my master's.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Rockland County, just north of the Tappan Zee Bridge.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
yep. And then I went out to Long Island and stayed out there until I moved up here.
I see. So did you like the suburbs, or do you like Long Island? Do you like Rockland? Do you like Albany?
I always said that Rockland was, Nassau County removed
Okay.
because it's very similar. A lot of our parents, they were born and raised in Brooklyn or in New York City, and then they moved out to the suburbs. So my aunt decided to go to Staten Island. My parents decided to go to Rockland County. A lot of their friends went out onto Long Island. So it was very similar growing up in Rockland. And I loved Long Island, except it's just the quality of life was very difficult. I had 2 small children and I was working full time. So we moved up to this area for the quality of life. The standard of living is amazing. What I've been able to provide for my children up here, I would never have been able to.
Well, in which way? Because of the monetary?
Yeah. We had two parents working, and my children were in daycare, very long hours, So my daughter was sick a lot, and we just said, no, we need to stop. Somebody needs to stay home or, work in an environment where we don't have to, it's not constant the way it is. It was down there.
And now you're earning, it's public, $93,000 a year.
No, that was what Richard was earning.
Oh, it said 93. So what are you earning?
It's currently 87.
And I presume that's not a male-female thing, right?
It's not. It has to do. No, it's not. It has
Women
to.
earning 67
Yes.
cents of the dollar what a man earns. So.
Librarians are civil servants,
Right.
and so we have a starting salary, and then we move up according to how much time we have in the system. So again, because I'm a Town of Colonie employee, they had a starting salary for my position, for Director 4, and because I don't have time in with the town, I started at the base.
Because it says from a Times Union article in June of
Yeah,
2015,
I know.
it
I
said
did.
according to the town budget, the position is $93,500.
And that was the previous director's.
Director.
Plus, yeah, right.
So there's another, $6,000 somewhere floting around that...
It went into my building.
It went into your building, okay.
Yes, the first thing I did was have my ducts cleaned. Seriously, it hadn't been done in 40 years, and it was a mess.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that really, that literally went into that.
So the dust is less,
Yes,
less dusty.
much less.
Okay.
Yes,
So-
people can breathe better. You need a clean building, right?
Where do you see the future of moving? Where do you want the library to move towards? And besides, we talked about, other buildings.
Besides branches, I think, libraries are community centers.
Uh-huh.
But in Colonie, we have a very large business community.
Yeah.
And I feel that we need to connect with that community and be a place that the business community can come and share their innovations. So, there's a huge push, just in library service in general, to make those connections, and be a place where entrepreneurs can come, where small business owners can come and, meet with clients, or, so there's a variety of different ways I think that we could partner with the business community, and I think that we need to do that.
And your predecessor was there 31 years. Are you going to exceed that?
No. 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 You know, I think that fresh eyes are important. People ask me, you know, are you happy you made the move? I am happy I made the move. I loved East Greenbush, and I didn't leave East Greenbush for any other reason than it was time for me to go. When I got there were some things that needed to be addressed, and I did a lot of things. I did 4 building projects, worked a lot with the staff, built teams. You know, I always say that I'm in leadership.
Yeah.
I'm in leadership, and currently I'm with the William K. Sanford Town Library. And it's my job to come in and observe and listen and evaluate and see where changes need to be made and make those changes happen. You know, write a strategic plan, help the board to realize, you know, what's going to happen next for the library. Because in order to remain relevant,
Right.
we have to keep moving forward. You know, people, there's a very nice, warm, and fuzzy place in people's hearts for libraries. But that's not going to keep our doors open, unfortunately. So, you know, we really need to remain relevant and important in
Well, I think
communities.
just what we said at the beginning of the show, the digital library,
Right?
you know, it's so different, it's a different world. And,
Yeah.
you know, like you say, when you opened the door 30, 40 years ago to a building, everything's digital. Do you find that kids do not read as much? I mean, I don't know if that's one of your statistics, but I mean, just saying a regular book. I mean, maybe there's so much on the YouTube and,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, do they take a book, just a basic book, you know,
Yeah.
thing, and read it?
Yep. And I think that comes from your family's traditions, you know. So what we see, particularly with early literacy, they're really pushing families to read with their children. And so our picture book usage is very consistent. I would say that our juvenile fiction is one of our highest circulating collections.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yep. And it's an age, you know, so tweens and teens, you know, age from like 10 to 16, they are much more video focused. You know, they talk about it being video literacy, digital literacy, and they are sound bites. So they're not reading as much. Not reading, I want to say, the extent, you know, the books.
War and Peace. They're
Yeah.
not reading War and Peace as much,
Right,
right?
right.
Yeah.
There's graphic novels, you know, and I think we're trying to reach them in a different way. But from 10 and under, there's still a lot of reading going
Reading.
on,
Well,
traditional reading going
they
on.
always say that if you want someone to build a website, get someone under the age of 15.
Yep,
And they'll
absolutely.
build you the best website.
Yep, part of that workforce development grant is for the teens in Shaker High School, some of the students in Shaker High School,
Yeah.
to teach adults going into the workforce how to program.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, we did a program over the summer called Cyber Kids, and it was fantastic.
Now you have book reviews. You have people coming
Mm-hmm.
in and talking about different books. I know, like maybe tomorrow, Michael Eck is coming in. So
Yep, yep. Joe Nash, who's basically our head of programming, he does a lot of that. He arranges for a lot of that. And he does a lot of book discussions and those kind of programs. We tend to film them and put them on our television station.
yeah, under
Yeah.
the educational part.
Yep, under the
Right.
educational part, correct.
It's not government.
No, definitely not government. No.
But how is your TV studio? Is it up to date, or do you think you need to update it more? Is it
One of the things that we've been talking about in terms of our studio is a green screen. We have a much, much smaller space than this space. I would say it's about this size,
Yeah, okay.
you know, of where we're sitting right now. And we have more of a traditional table
Right.
setting. Our equipment is up to date, but the backdrop, I think, could use some refreshing. So we've been talking with both the North and South Colonie schools to talk about green screen technology,
Okay.
what that would cost, you know, what it would include. So that's something that we're moving towards.
Okay. And what about the equipment? I mean, because, you know, sometimes you buy a computer
Yes.
and it's outdated by the time you bring it home.
Yes,
So
yes.
how are your cameras and how is
So
your...
far, so good. I believe that within the last, not this past year, we didn't do any spending in 2015 just because I had just started. But I believe we got some newer cameras in 2014. And, you know, we update the equipment as needed. One thing that we've been really lucky with is we've moved away. We're doing all digital filming. So we're not working with DVDs anymore. You know, a lot of it is done right online. We can take the memory drive, put it in the computer, it could be edited, so that I think was an update that we did recently.
And what about the program? I mean, how often do you run a particular program?
Usually a program will get 10 slots a week.
Yeah.
So we start at 8 in the morning and we go until, I think it's 10 at night.
Okay.
So what we'll do is it'll start at 8 and then it'll run over, a week.
But someone doesn't have to be there.
No, it gets programmed. That's part of what Time Warner Cable Verizon give us in the software that they give us.
Oh.
It's scheduling software. It's a whole system.
And what about the franchise fees? Do you get funding through franchise fees, or?
We don't have.
I mean, I know it goes to the town, but I didn't know.
And it's the funding goes. It's a grant.
Okay.
It's a grant through Time Warner and Verizon, and the money is for the library. It's not for the library. It's for our television studio.
And how much is that?
Currently, we have $26,000 as a balance in there. This year, I believe it was a little bit over $12,000
Of an annual
of
grant?
a grant.
Do you get other money from other, let's say, supporters of the TV? No, that's the only thing.
That's the only thing we have. And that money comes in, it's in an account for that, and it gets used on that. So like right now, we're having an issue with, so in between each show, there's a holder, we'll put up when the town board meeting is, or when our next, so it's more like a PowerPoint presentation, and that part of the software is down.
Okay.
So, we're in the process of trying to get somebody in to fix that.
Well, you
So-
got to know a lot of different things from one end of the spectrum to another.
Yes.
So you're balancing juggling a lot of balls. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes,
well, you
yes.
seem very talented, and
Thank you.
it's so good to meet you and
Yes.
to get to know you.
And Evelyn, you're doing good work. You came to Colonie with your feet on the ground and
Yes, I
running
did,
over here.
running.
You've done a lot of things.
That's how I try and approach things.
Well, that is good, and we see that, and so therefore we give you a blessing. Continue your good work with a
Thank
lot of
you.
success.
Yes,
Thank
much
you.
success to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.